I can honestly say that this is the most fun I've had watching the Minnesota Vikings play football in 15 years. That the current undefeated Vikings, if the playoffs were to start today, they would have the number one seed in the NFC, which means that the entire NFC playoffs would go through US Bank Stadium. As this video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. What would that look like? Well, the Vikings, who are contenders, kicking every ounce of ass that dare steps in front of its way, would also have, and I don't think it's debatable at this point, would also have the best home field advantage in the entire NFL. Years past at US Bank Stadium, the fans have always been into it. Bless their hearts. They have given every ounce of their soul to give this team energy to play at their best. Oftentimes, it wasn't reciprocated with the play on the field by the players, but it was always a scary place to play baseline, to where the last time I was at the bank in 2019, Vikings versus Eagles, with my in-laws, my brother-in-law said, "Hey man, that skull chant sent chills down my spine." But now that this team is playing at an elite level, it's no longer just for these opposing quarterbacks trying to figure out the defensive scheme at play here pre-snap, or trying to anticipate where the kitchen sink is going to be thrown at you by Brian Flores. You add on top of all of that crowd noise at US Bank Stadium, it hits a lot different. You don't have many opportunities like this. The Vikings should be all in on this team this year. Screw that first round pick. I don't care if you don't have a draft at all in 2025. Everything that you need to do possible to power up this team beyond how already powerful they are, you do it. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, you cooked in this offseason. We need you to cook in the kitchen again. Get back to it. And when I did yesterday's video talking about how the Vikings need to add a running back, which they do, the idea behind it was to come up with names that the team wouldn't necessarily value. So Dalvin Cook on the Cowboys practice squad, or Miles Sanders with the Carolina Panthers. They're a whole ass mess over there. But after thinking about it a little bit more, I want to include another qualifier. And this is not just running backs, just going over the top by the trade deadline. Teams that are on the verge of having to face the music, where your season is over, whether you like to admit it or not. And I came up with 6 teams that meets that category. And before we get into that, sign up for BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. Get a 150% bonus on your first deposit and a 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. Just use the promo code YouTube150. And now going to the teams that, quite frankly, you're at the verge of your season falling off the cliff, keeping in mind that the 2 positions that the Vikings would have to make a move or try to make a move in this scenario to improve this roster is at running back and interior defensive line. Interior offensive line, sure, that would be great. Center and right guard is still a problem for this team. However, I've come to the acceptance that no team is ever going to give up a good offensive lineman. That's just something teams don't do. With that said, the 6 teams that I would be preying on right now, if I was Kwesi and this Vikings front office start making calls to these teams, we'll start with the Jacksonville Jaguars with Eric Armstead and Travis Etienne. This would be one of 2 teams that I can see a possibility of killing 2 birds with 1 stone in one trade for both of these positions. The Jaguars, they're 1-4. Eric Armstead on this team, Travis Etienne, in the event that he has to be RB1 filling in for Aaron Jones, or RB2 substituting for Aaron Jones, I'd like that trade a lot. The Dolphins at 2-3, which you could say they're in the AFC East. Anything's possible. That division is a mess. However, they don't have their quarterback. Tua, who knows if he's even going to return at any point this season. With that said, they do have one player on their roster that I could see the Miami Dolphins willing to part ways with, and that's their running back, Jeff Wilson Jr. Then you get to the Tennessee Titans at 1-3. This is the second team where you can address both the running back and interior defensive line position. With Will Levis, they're not going to win very many games. Tony Pollard and Jeffrey Simmons. In this scenario, with the Titans in this hypothetical trade, I wouldn't mind giving up a first-round pick. The Dolphins with Jeff Wilson Jr., a fifth. The Jacksonville Jaguars with Eric Armstead, Travis Etienne. You might be able to get away with it with both of your fifth-round picks and then a future third, or worst case, a future second. And then we get to the Cleveland Browns at 1-4. And initially, I had both positions of need addressed here, but one of them I don't like the contract. So initially, it was going to be both Dalvin Tomlinson, former Vikings player, and Jerome Ford / Nick Chubb. Dalvin Tomlinson, his contract is a bit too inflated for my taste. Jerome Ford will be a great addition at running back. Nick Chubb, hey, if all things were equal, Nick Chubb, that would be the home run trade to make at running back anyway. That would be insane. Him along with Aaron Jones, are you kidding me? But there's two problems here. Nick Chubb, we don't know the health status of him right now. I don't think he's played any games at all this season. I'm pretty sure he started the year on IR. So there's the question mark of, we already have the question mark of Aaron Jones if he's going to be healthy after the bye. Then you're going to trade for another guy at the same position who you also have to worry about his health status. I don't know about that. Also, the second issue with Nick Chubb is for the Browns, he's like the darling of that team. He's the equivalent of Naz Reid on the Minnesota Timberwolves, or for the Vikings. Who would be the darling for this Vikings team right now? I would say maybe I think it's a dead even split between Josh Metellus and the newcomer on the block, Andrew Van Ginkel. They love Nick Chubb over there. But I can also see if he's healthy enough to play, they know how their organization is a sinking ship with Deshaun Watson. They may want to do him a favor to get him to a team that's going to compete. Certainly the Vikings fit that category. But if you can get Nick Chubb and he's healthy, I'm all for it. That's a home run trade. The other team that I'd be willing to give up a first round pick, the New York Giants at 2-3, obviously for Dexter Lawrence. At 2-3, they just got a big win over Seattle last week, so they're probably having a sense of false hope that's going to run out eventually, and they'll have to come to their senses. Whether they're willing to part ways with Dexter Lawrence or not, we'll have to see. And the last team that fits the mold of trying to face the music, the Carolina Panthers. So, talked about Miles Sanders yesterday. I'm also going to include Chuba Hubbard in the mix as well. Same position at running back. But those are the 6 teams. Jacksonville with Eric Armstead, Travis Etienne. Dolphins with Jeff Wilson Jr. The Titans, Tony Pollard, Jeffrey Simmons. The Browns with Jerome Ford or Nick Chubb. The Giants with Dexter Lawrence. And the Carolina Panthers with Chuba Hubbard or Miles Sanders. You have to be aggressive here. To hell with trying to protect the future. What is there to protect? Screw the future. The future is right now. And there's also the realization that you have to prepare for or get ready for. There's a real possibility that Brian Flores could be up out of here after this season. You don't want to waste this opportunity that you have right here, right now. You beg for opportunities like this. You beg for moments like this. Man, we can finally sit back as fans and not have to stress out about what it is that they're going to do. You know it's going to turn out great. We've been begging for that for years, and now it's here, and Possibly some of us may be saying, well, let's not get too crazy here. No, get crazy as hell. Get stupid. If not now, when? F them picks, bro. I'm trying to see this team win a championship by any means necessary. Shout out to the folks at BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. We'll see you next time.